likely to be angry with you after the way you shot Pat.
You can go back to the laundry if you wish. You're fit.
Thank you.
Oh, if you should develop any symptoms, nausea, dizziness, severe headache, come back.
Here, Doc. You're not here for much longer, are you?
No.
I reckon you won't be sorry to see the back of this place.
I'm sorry about your son, Pat.
Really? Thanks, Mrs. Jackson. Thanks a lot.
There's still time. You've got a good record. Now, if you could prove to Mrs. Davidson that you could be trusted, then she might change her mind about the funeral.
Funny, isn't it? I've been a model prisoner, but when it comes to the crunch, it's not worth a cracker, is it?
Morning, lady. You all right?
Go on, Mrs. Jackson, tell him. I'm a danger to society. Mrs. Davidson reckons I might attack the priest.
Last night, Pat attacked Latham and Dr. Miller. Mrs. Davidson feels she could be a problem if she goes to the funeral.
Is Mrs. Davidson in her office?
Yes.
Okay.
Detective Sergeant Little. I see, thank you.
Mrs. Davidson, I'd like a word with you.
Just a moment. I take it the matter is urgent.
Yes, it is.
Wendy, could you tell Detective Little I'll phone him back? Thank you.
I understand that you've cancelled O'Connell's compassionate leave.
That is correct. She attacked another prisoner.
Yes, but that's hardly enough reason to stop her from saying goodbye to her son.
If she's likely to be dangerous, I can hardly take the risk.
Dangerous, dangerous. Dangerous to whom? You know her record as well as I do. Do you seriously believe she's going to try something at her own son's funeral?
Can you guarantee that she will not? I gathered from our conversation last night that, in your opinion, O'Connell was not going to cause any more trouble.
Mrs. Davidson, I'm employed here as a social worker, not a clairvoyant. However, I would be very surprised if O'Connell attacked anyone with that extreme provocation.
If O'Connell causes trouble, she will jeopardize compassionate leave for other prisoners. Surely you find that important?
What I find important now is Mrs. O'Connell's right to say goodbye to her son.
Compassionate leave is a privilege, not a right.
She has lost her son. She will never see him again. Can you deny her that right?
Can you guarantee she will not abuse her leave?
Mrs. Davidson, I can't guarantee anything, but you know as well, better than I do, that Mrs. O'Connell is not a violent person. Now, please, give her a chance.
I hope you are right.
I'm sure I am. And thank you. Oh, Coulson and Birdsworth, I'd like to see them sometime today, if that's possible.
Are you sure there isn't anything else?
No, that's all for the moment.
What do you want?
I heard them bring you in last night. Well, tell me what happened.
Talk to me, please. I'm going crazy in here. What's wrong?
Nothing's wrong.
Well, what are you doing up here, then?
Who's there?
Shut up, Coulson.
Miss Bennett, tell me what's going on. Why is Pat up here?
Jungle telegraph broken down, has it? O'Connell, come here.
What are you whispering for, Miss Bennett?
I didn't think you'd want private matters spread all over the prison.
What difference does it make?
You'll be attending the funeral this afternoon. Did you hear what I said?
Yes, I heard.
They'll be collecting you at 3 o'clock.
Who died? Tell me what's going on. Pat? Pat, tell me what happened.
You'd reckon they'd tell us something, wouldn't you?
Oh, now, why would they? It's like a bonus in Vera's pay, be able to keep us in the dark.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's Doc Miller's fault. Finding out he shopped her was about the last straw, I reckon.
He didn't know what he was doing, B.
Ah, bullshit.
We'll get a move on. I thought you'd be anxious to get back to your friends.
Roughing up a pregnant lady.
I imagine I can leave the rough stuff to you, Smith.
Okay, spill it. What happened to Pat?
Yeah, spit it out, you dirty
I
little
thought the
lagger.
officers were here to protect us, Miss Bennett. You're on your own, Latham. Birdsworth,
I never laid a finger on her.
shut up and get outside.
Just when it was getting interesting.
Run into a chair.
You know bloody well what happened.
Still keen on dressmaking.
Look, I know it's a bit late, B, but I'm really sorry for what I said to Pat. And I
Oh,
didn't think...
yeah.
I mean it, honest. I mean, if there was anything I could do, B, I'd do it. I
Did
swear.
you tell the screws why Pat laid into you?
Yeah, I swear I did, but by that time it was too late. I mean, she'd already attacked the dog, so it didn't make no difference.
You have turned over a new leaf, haven't you? Nagging on yourself.
Like I said,
What's the matter? You frightened of what Pat's going to do to you when she surfaces?
she's off her head, B. We're going to have to stick together, aren't we? Well, I mean, she won't do nothing while you're around, will she?
Fancy you asking me for protection.
And that's about all I can tell you, Lizzie.
Of course, we could all have guessed about Pat, but Doc Miller don't suppose he'd be able to cope with this place now after all that's happened.
Yeah, that wouldn't be easy. Well, now, have you thought any more about your parole?
Nope. And I'm not gonna.
Lizzie, just one, please. Remember what happened last time?
Thanks, Paul.
You know, Lizzie, if you put your mind to it, there are a lot of things that you could do on the outside.
Like what?
Like looking after Doreen for a start.
Come to think of it, I haven't heard from her for weeks. She's not getting into any trouble, is she?
Oh, you would have heard if she was. But you were pretty good mates, weren't you? Like mother and daughter. Well, don't you miss her?
Of course I do. But that halfway house joint, I don't like the sound of it.
Why not?
Bet it's a dump. Rats and cockroaches. At least this place is clean. Have you seen it yet?
No, not yet.
Why don't you go and check it out for me?
There's not much point if you don't want to get out.
Oh, go on. No harm in having a gander. And then you could see Dora and come back and tell me how she's getting on.
All right, if I do, will you think about your parole?
It's a deal. My mouth's watering thinking of that first drink.
Sorry, Lizzie, more customers. I'll get back to you about that halfway house business.
Thanks, Paul.
Coulson to see you.
Sit down, Rosalind.
She's to go straight back to solitary when you've finished with her.
Oh, thank you, Miss Bennett. I'm aware of that.
She is a murderess, Mr. Reed, and should be treated as such. Although I doubt she will be in here.
Sit down, please.
Look, Mr. Reed, I've been cooped up in that pound for days. I can't stand it. I mean, there's no one to talk to, nothing to do except stare at the walls. I'll go off my head if I stay in there any longer.
And if you were to get out, what would you do?
Well, I was doing HSC. I think it's possible to do it by correspondence. Then when I get out, I could go to university?
That's a good idea.